together. Y'all know this story? Or do I need to go through the whole thing? He got them all together. He said the first thing you need to do is you need to choose ye this day who you going to serve. In other words, you got to make up your mind what you really want to do.
Yes.
See, the problem with a lot of us is we're double-minded.
Amen.
Double-minded about our salvation. How you say that, preacher? 1 minute, you want to be in church. The next minute, you want to be in the club. Now, I know when I put this on YouTube, they might turn this one off.
Amen.
Today, you feel like you want to be saved.
True.
The next day, you really don't know. Today, you speaking in tongues. Tomorrow, you cussing like a sailor.
Amen.
And so Elijah said, look, we got to get the first things first. You got to make up in your mind who you going to serve. Who you going to follow. You can't follow two of them at the same time.
Amen.
So that's the first thing you got to do is make up in your mind, look, if you're going to serve Baal, follow Baal. If you're going to serve God, follow God. Don't do it halfway.
Amen.
If you're going to be saved, be saved. And you know, that's a lot of times, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to move on, but a lot of times I watch at funerals, and I'm not against doing altar calls at funerals, but a lot of times at funerals, people are so emotional. And you know, you're talking about, you're going to see, if you want to see your loved one, you got to get your heart right. And a lot of people are emotional. And so when they hear you say, if you want to see your loved one, again, you have to get saved. Well, at that particular time, all they're thinking about is seeing their loved one. And so a lot of times when they get saved, after the funeral, they may come to church that Sunday, but then, you know, they kind of, because it was based on the fact that they were hurting at the time. And so a lot of people really don't make the decision to follow Christ doing those particular altar calls. Then there are some of us who make the decision for convenience.
Amen.
Oh, I'm going to serve him because I see how he blessing somebody else. But the moment he stops blessing, then your salvation leaves with the blessing being taken away. But you can tell those who are really serving God because they really love him. Because they stay with him when things seem to be going well. And they stay with him when things start going wrong. Just like in a marriage. You can tell your husband and your wife love you because they still with you.
Amen.
I just thought I'd throw that in there. Yeah. You know, anyway, let me move on. And so Elijah said, I want you to get all the people together. And if you're going to serve Baal, then what we're going to do is we're going to have a contest. And the God who answers by fire, then we're going to serve that God. If Baal answers by fire, we'll serve him. Since y'all say Baal is over the sky and over the weather. And what they really were talking about, fire was lightning. Because they thought, you know, when it rained, Baal caused it to rain. And the lightning that flashed, they thought he controlled all of that. And so what they were talking about when they were talking about fire was lightning. And so what Elijah was saying, look, the God that answers by lightning or fire, we're going to serve him. And so Elijah said, look, I got so much confidence in the God I serve. What a confident saved folk at. A lot of us walk around talking about, child, I'm barely making it. I want to talk to the confident saved folk. How in the world you going to tell somebody what a mighty God we serve today, and the next minute somebody asks you, talking about, oh, no, child, I'm just barely making it. And you don't know that your words have power. And the more you keep saying, I'm barely making it, slowly it looks like you barely making it. You have to watch what you say.
Amen.
And so what Elijah did, he said, look, I'm going to give y'all the first thing. Matter of fact, y'all can do what you want to. Y'all can pick the sacrifice, do what you want to do, because my faith, I'm so confident in my faith that I know the God I serve is going to answer the way he says. Make a long story short, they got out there, got the sacrifice, started praying. Baal didn't answer. got to the point where they had prayed so long, they started cutting themselves. Maybe if we let some blood come out, he'll answer because we're hurting ourselves. He didn't answer. Elijah started messing with him and said, look, y'all might want to holler a little louder because he might be asleep. Or he might be on vacation. He started, see, you got to have confident faith to be able to do that. And Elijah was able to do that because in the back of his mind, he was thinking about where the Lord had just brought him from. God just brought me, he just fed me. He just allowed me to see the first miracle of a child being raised from the dead. And I know that since God has led me here, he's not going to fail me now. And so they kept on going, kept on going. And Elijah said, all right, that's enough of that. That's enough. Get y'all sacrifice, move it out of the way. I don't want to use none of y'all stuff. Build me a fresh altar. Give me a fresh sacrifice. Matter of fact, get me some water. Because you know, if something wet, it's a little harder for it to catch on fire. We're gonna make this thing hard by human, what humans would think would be hard. But we already know it's not too hard for God. See, he already knew it wasn't too hard for God. He said, but look, I want y'all to wet it up. Because I don't want y'all to say I put no lighter under the bottom of it and it caught on fire. I don't want there to be anything saying I had anything to do with it. And look what Elijah did. He prayed. He didn't do no long prayer. He didn't even have to go into G. I have no problem with people who do that. Look like people who did that stayed saved long. I ain't gonna bother that either. He just simply prayed and asked God for what he wanted. And because he had relationship with God, God answered his prayer. Not only did he answer his prayer, God answered his prayer by taking his sacrifice, burnt up the whole altar. All the water that was around the altar was burnt up. But that wasn't enough. This is the part where what I want to get to. Sometimes folk can see God move and still won't believe. These people saw what God did. And they still were silent after the sacrifice. God can work some miracles for some people, and they still won't respond to him. But you got to learn to keep it moving. You hear what I said? You got to learn to keep it moving, and that's what Elijah did. He said, look, Ahab, I want you to go ahead and eat and drink, because I hear a sound of abundance of rain. And that's what I want to tell you all, because when he's told Elijah that, the clouds weren't dark. You know how, I don't know if it rained up this way on yesterday, but it rained down that way on yesterday, and it got real dark. So you can tell it was actually getting ready to rain. You know, some little drizzle. So if somebody said it's getting ready to rain, you would believe that. But he spoke to Ahab and said, I hear a sound of abundance of rain. Or in other words, I can't see it.